Hello, and welcome to Did You Know Gaming Extra. Today we're delving into the depths of despair, bringing you some particularly spooky trivia from several games. Perhaps even a few that you might not expect. That's right, it's a Halloween special. Before we get into the spooky trivia, however, a word from our sponsor. Did you know that 2 out of 3 men experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35? Everyone's had a friend or family member who's grappled with male pattern baldness, and how upsetting it can be to go through. If you think the same might be happening to you, Keeps can help you to hold on to what you already have, and sometimes even regrow old hair. Keeps offers scientifically proven and affordable treatments. This is done with generic versions of the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss products out there. Some of you may have tried these medications before, but probably never at this low of a cost. Keeps even lets you get treated from home by doing an online consultation with a doctor to get your prescription so you can stay safe during a pandemic. Not only this, but the hair loss medication is delivered right to your home. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/DYKG or click the link in the description to receive 50% off your first order. That's keeps.com/DYKG. And now, back to the spooky trivia. There's no scarier way of starting a Halloween video than discussing the advertising standards within the UK. Tekken 3 had a big release on the PlayStation in 1998, but this wasn't simply due to the success of the previous games. Amongst its various promotional pieces, one poster, which certainly didn't pull any punches, featured a morgue with 2 severed legs and the shape of a body under a cover. This poster caused offense to a whopping 10 people, who wrote into the Advertising Standards Authority to complain. Sony defended the ad, saying it was a surreal situation by positioning the body parts in the manner reminiscent of a cartoon character, but the ASA stood their ground, claiming it was realistic and macabre, with the fallout of this incident resulting in all advertising by Sony having to be vetted by the ASA for the following 2 years. This wasn't the only advertising incident that got Sony into trouble. At the same time, they were also reprimanded for a mail campaign for PlayStation accessories that sent out an envelope containing 4 fake X-rays and a letter telling the receiver to seek immediate medical attention. The letter was signed by a fake doctor, with the reverse of the letter stating that this is not a piece of genuine medical communication. Despite this information, the letter resulted in Sony receiving 53 complaints and the ASA taking 20 telephone complaints, mostly from people expecting genuine test results. From one severed body part to another, Super Monaco GP was a big success when it released in Japanese arcades, hitting number 2 in the arcade charts of Famitsu magazine, known as Famicom Tsushin at the time, in August 1989. It proceeded to take top position in September, and held it until October that same year. Naturally, it invaded the home console and computer market the next year, with ports of the arcade hit being made for the Amiga, Spectrum, Sega Master System, and Genesis. But the Genesis edition in particular had an unusual hidden Easter egg. If the player holds down A, B, and C when finishing the second race in any of the top 3 positions in arcade mode, the player's racer will hold up their own severed head instead of a trophy. Now for a game that's infused with horror. The 2003 Game Boy Advance title Castlevania: Aria of Sorrow. The game has several interesting decisions behind some of its artistic direction, such as with the enemy skeletons featured throughout being based on the lead programmer Shutaro Aida. The reason the waiter skeletons throw curries is purely because Aida had a diet that consisted primarily of curry, even being known by some as Curry the Kid or Curry Gentleman Shutaro. Another Aida-inspired change came from the fact that Aida hates sushi, so sushi was removed from the possible foods that drop from enemies. There is some contention on the inspiration for the lead protagonist's name in Aria of Sorrow and Dawn of Sorrow, Soma Cruz. During a discussion within a developer roundtable in 2003, Koji Igarashi claims the name Cruz came from a need to make the name more accessible to Western audiences, due to its association with the cross, and because at the time, Hollywood star Penelope Cruz had visited Japan. He also claims that the name Soma is taken from an Indian ritual drink of the same name, and that it's also the name of director Junichi Murakami's son. Murakami, however, dismissed this, saying, "It's just a coincidence, as the kanji are different too. When I first noticed it, I was like, no." But Koji Igarashi said, "I just can't think of anything else. Sorry." Another horror classic, Resident Evil 2, was so popular that it was ported to several consoles and PC, and even now has a full-blown remake. The series went on to be a flagship for Capcom, with Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 being in the top 5 best-selling games Capcom has ever produced. But confidence in the game's representation of the company wasn't always there. Director Hideki Kamiya claims the iconic opening scene of the umbrella can being stepped on was originally meant to feature the Capcom logo, but the then current Capcom manager did not approve of their brand being stepped on at the beginning of the game, and so it was changed. This isn't the only thing changed from the opening of the game, with the original plan being to start from within the iconic police station, with zombies attempting to get into the building. This was changed to have the player begin from outside, as this helped portray the extent at which the city had been taken over. It was also planned that Leon would eventually have to leave the station again, with stronger weapons, making him more capable of taking down the hordes of zombies found at the beginning. This was to get to the sewers, instead of conveniently having them find the sewer under the station. It was also thought to have a return to the Spencer Mansion ruins from the original Resident Evil, having to fight a boss that survived the explosion. These ideas were dropped due to limited disk space, as the game was getting too long. One thing that did make it to Resident Evil 2 from the original was a tyrant. The game was never meant to feature a tyrant, but Kamiya was insistent on bringing one in, now that the game needed to be overhauled. Not only that, but Kamiya planned on making the tyrant perfect and invincible, but writer Noboru Sugimura disagreed, stating in a 1998 interview with Kamiya that making the tyrant so strong would render the existence of the G-Virus meaningless. To solve that problem, we came up with the idea of the tyrant having a mission to retrieve the G-Virus. Also, one of the consequences of having players go through the same scenario twice was that, by the second time, they're used to things, and it's too easy. For that reason, we decided to have the tyrant appear in Scenario B as a way to raise the difficulty. While we're on the subject of Resident Evil 0 has a cut Easter egg to the game. In the wonderfully directed original intro to the first game, the STARS team come across a disembodied hand. The official strategy guide for the game confirms the hand to be Edward Dewey's, the pilot of STARS Team Bravo. This was contradicted in Resident Evil 0, where it's possible to see both of his hands intact, unbloodied, when the player finds Edward dying in the train. However, in the prototype of the original Resident Evil 0 for Nintendo 64, it's possible to see that Edward has one bloody hand, meaning they once had something in line with the original canon. Moving on from Resident Evil, but not that far. The survival horror game Evil Within 2 was produced by Shinji Mikami, director of the original Resident Evil. The game contains a classic move from any cheesy horror franchise by referencing the title of the game itself in a character's dialogue. In Chapter 7, shortly after destroying Stefano's paintings, if the player interacts with Liam O'Neill inside the safe house, they will reference the title. That being said, the English version of the game is called Evil Within, while the Japanese name translates to Psycho Break. The respective title is referred to as such in both language versions, before giving a very obvious look at the camera. And now it's time for this episode's random piece of trivia. Today, we're talking about Siphon Filter 3, which released on the original PlayStation on the 6th of November. This release date wasn't what was originally planned, having been changed due to the developers needing to make some last-minute changes. The game was originally planned to release in a dual case with a cover depicting Gabriel Logan and Xian in a federal building filled with green gas and a big American flag in the background. This, however, was due to be released on September 25th, 2001, and with the September 11th attacks on top of the score of Anthrax attacks, it was quickly recalled. The images were simply replaced with Gabriel and Xian's heads in a single disc case, and removed any words like deadly, arsenal, and terrorists, while the rest of the world got a slightly close-up version of the original game's cover without the flag. Some of the original copies released before the recall can bring in $1,000 at auction for sealed editions. Thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this rather scary episode of Did You Know Gaming Extra. If you wish to be spooked by people playing really badly at some of your favorite games, why not take a look at the Did You Know Gaming Twitch account, where we play games throughout the week. Thank you for watching, and remember to sleep with one eye open tonight. You never know what might be lurking within the shadows. Doing horror voices is very hard, and I'm very sorry if this sounds a bit weird, but thank you for watching, thank you for getting to the end, and don't forget, we love you guys, you're the best. Enjoy your Halloween.